All right. Well, it seems to have slowed down a little bit here with folks joining. Dr. Felder, whenever you're ready, please feel free to kick us off.
Welcome, family. Thumbs up or shaking of heads or something. All right. Well, let me say it again. Welcome, family, under the heading of Liberated Village with a focus for healing. I've just kind of grown to love that focus. We're liberating and healing. That is our focus. Now, to bring everybody into the circle for this exciting meeting, I wanted to share a proverb or two with you. All right. And it's from my book, The Book of African Proverbs. And I thought it was so appropriate since we are doing a lot of healing and liberating. So I want you to think about this, not necessarily talk about it, but I want you to think about it. It's better to run fast than to stand angry at the forest. I'll say it again. It's better to run fast than to stand angry at the forest. So think about that. And as you reflect somewhere in the future, grab a hold of that proverb and think about what that means. Now, I got one more for you. Now, this is kind of interesting. Helping a gambler is like throwing a hare into the fire. That makes you say, It makes you go, Well, that's what I do with children. I use these African proverbs, and I work with these little second graders. And so can you imagine what they might say when I read a proverb? And then what was really exciting is having them create a proverb from a baby picture, from their baby pictures, in which they turn that what I want to call baby picture and proverb into an artifact, which means it's something that I'm asking them to save for the next 30 years, in which they share that artifact with somebody that they love. So, and let me give you, I got one more thing to share with you. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but working with second graders, they do little crazy things for you, right? To make your heart just kind of bloom with happiness. And so one shared this picture with me, and it says something like, "You are the best person I have ever known." And so I looked at that, and guess how it made me feel? There was a tear that kind of came to the edge of my eye, because it meant so much that this now becomes my artifact, in which I tell children how important it is to share kindness with others. And this is what I received, which was an act of kindness. So I want you to think about all the acts of kindness that you have done this year, and related to the proverbs that I just shared, and watch the magic come to your conscious mind. So that being said, welcome to the circle, family. And I think this is really an exciting meeting, because it really starts to talk about our future. And what I really was impressed with, and I surely hope everyone has read the documents, but I'm really impressed with this thought that we're trying to sustain to create gain. Now that's magical in my mind. So on that note, Sheila, would you like to talk to us?
I would love to talk with you. I would be honored. You know, you started this off with liberation and healing, and when I heard that is the name we're going to be going forward with, I actually posted that on my wall. So as I sit on my computer, I see liberation and healing as I'm sitting here. So thank you all for that gift.
Could you do me one more favor? Please share who you are.
You. I'm just launching it.
Go ahead and talk about yourself.
So my love is spilling out. So let me just tell you, more important than my name is my love here. I'm Sheila Capistani. I am the lead for Best Starts for Kids, along with Marcy Miller, who's co-lead, and I'm also the director of our Children, Youth, and Young Adults Division. That is my titles. I am committed and really amazed to be a part of all of this work that's happening in our community around Best Starts for Kids, and even broader than that. So I'm excited to be here and talk with you all and hear from you all and have this discussion. Do we want to introduce with first of all, I think we're going to do some breakout sessions. So I want to make sure we know who our county staff is here, who will be joining you in small groups. So if you're county staff, can I have you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I know many of you. I'm Sarah Wilhelm and have had the honor of working with Yolanda and Julia and the village for a while now, and am also supporting Sheila and the team with BSK Renewal. So it's really a pleasure to be here with you, and I will be in one of the breakouts. And I can pass over to Megan.
Hi, everybody. I am Megan McJennet. I'm the Best Starts for Kids Implementation Manager, and have admired the village from slightly afar, but you all have done such amazing work. And I am humbled to be here. I unfortunately will not be in a breakout group because I have to raise my village and pick up kids from school and get them to where they need to be. But I'm happy to be here for the first little bit. And I will pass it on to Mohit.
Thank you, Megan. Hi, everyone. Really pleased to be here in community. My name is Mohit Nair. I'm one of the county staff today. I'm an evaluator on the prenatal to 5 side, so I work closely with young kids. And I will pass it to Sarah J.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah J. You may have seen me once or twice at some TERP Village gatherings a couple years ago where we did some data workshops, and I also talked a little bit about some of the capacity building available. And yeah, I'm on the Best Starts for Kids data team and here to help with the breakouts today. And I will pass it on to Stephanie.
Hey everyone, my name is Stephanie Ospina Velez, she, her pronouns, and I work with the BSK renewal team to help with the renewal of the implementation. I can't see anyone because I'm using my phone because my computer's giving me problems, so I don't know who hasn't gone, but perhaps Charlene hasn't gone.
Hey everyone, Charlene Jose. I'm the confidential secretary for the Children, Youth, and Young Adults Division here at King County, and I'll help with the IT aspect of everything.
All right, I think that may be all of our county staff that will be assisting with our groups. Is that correct? Do we have any more people who are county staff?
We have Amy.
Hi,
Amy.
I am county staff, but I'm really happy to be here today. It's my first community conversation. I'll be helping with one of the future conversations, so just wanted to get acquainted with everybody, see how this works, and again, I'm really happy to be here and see you all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think we are good. Thank you all. I want to make sure, I want to check my own assumptions. I'm assuming because you are the village that you all know each other. One of the things that we've done when we've done community conversations is we've asked people to introduce themselves in the chat, but I don't know if that's necessary with this group or not.
I don't know, they just sent me a thing for me.
Does anyone have yes, no? Sounds like probably you all know each other, so we'll go with that. Okay. I see familiar faces. So first of all, let me just say, hey, it's good to see some of you. I miss seeing people in actual person, but it's nice to see people's faces over these really hard months that we've just been through. So I have a PowerPoint that I would like to share with you all. I want to talk about where we're going with Best Starts for Kids, but really start grounding ourselves in the process that we're doing with these conversations. We talked to you before we transmitted anything to our council saying we wanted to renew Best Starts for Kids and ask people what should we be doing. We heard sort of loud and clear a lot of feedback and information, and we incorporated that moving forward. We've done a lot of work to put together a draft implementation plan. So now we're coming back to say, okay, this is what we heard, this is what we kind of wrote down. Did we get it right? Is there anything that we're missing? So this is our check back on conversations that we have had. And I am going to hope that this is you all. Share my PowerPoint here. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I love to start here when I start any presentation I do, no matter what it is, because this is our vision. This is what BSK is grounded in, and it's really such a different place for government to ground itself, to really invest in saying we want happy, healthy, safe, and thriving young people. We want happy, healthy, safe, and thriving our babies, our children, our youth, young adults, our families, and our communities. This is what Best Starts for Kids is all about. So whenever I go out and do presentations, and when I come to groups such as yours, I say, this is where I want us to be thinking from, is what does this mean for us to be doing this? And are we actually, as we're putting this plan together, putting things in place for this to be able to be the truth for our children? So this is the vision for Best Starts for Kids. We want to talk to you about sort of the community conversations that we had and what we heard when we were there. Starting in general, we heard from a lot of communities. There were some themes that were sort of true across all of our communities that we heard from, and things that came up. So I wanted to talk to you about some of those. So when we asked the question, what would be important for us to continue doing? Across the board in our community conversations, we heard about the technical assistance and the capacity building, that was really important, that we had done that work with the community-based organizations, that we needed to maintain our flexibility to adjust funding to meet unmet needs, particularly as we came out of the COVID, went into the COVID crisis, and then folks were managing and needing to shift pretty quickly how they use their dollars in order to meet the needs of children and families and communities. So that was really important, that we were able to be flexible in our funding that way. The Best starts with its clear focus on racial equity, that we should deepen that, continue doing that work, and shifting our own systems and the way that we partner with folks, and really working with our communities around that. And that our multi-year funding structure was important to people. We heard that across the board. We also heard about the need for us to streamline our data collection and reporting processes. We tried to do a deep dive into that, and I think that we got started. I think we have some work that we can do, and if we get the opportunity with 2.0, we will definitely be working and digging in on streamlining our processes. We want to continue to expand funding to all areas of King County, including our rural areas and including our unincorporated areas. One of the things about being a county is that we sort of come on top of municipalities, but for unincorporated areas, we really are the local government. We're the ones that should be taking care of those unincorporated areas. And the county has done that sometimes well and sometimes not so well. So as Best Starts for Kids, we want to make sure that we are representing and getting those dollars into our unincorporated areas as well. As people were saying, it was good to have flexible funding. How we can improve is to make sure that we continue to have flexible funding. So folks have really asked us to do more than we did in 1.0, and being flexible about how people could use those dollars, and to make sure that we were continuing to fund over time. And then finally, to deepen our efforts to develop our intentional and effective partnerships with community, including incorporating parents and young people more in the decision-making around what programming looked like. So those were some of the general themes that we heard throughout our community conversations. We also came and spoke with you and had some feedback that was very specific from you all that we wanted to share. And this is really where we want to say, did we hear you? Was there more that we needed to know? Did we get it right, what we heard? So first, we heard that we needed to create and acquire more intentional processes to foster collaboration and relationship that would really help organizations get to know their networks and know what resources networks have, including resources that can assist with families. That we should shift more programs towards parent engagement and making sure that the power of parents was able to flourish and come to fruition. The pathways for professional development for teachers and adults who care for children, with a focus on healing. That was unique to this group, was really talking about, yes, let's talk about the professional development, and BSK did a fair amount of it. But let's talk about looking at that for teachers and adults who care for kids, and let's have it focus not just on trauma, but on healing and what does that look like. And really what we've heard recently from some of the work that you all have been doing is focusing on liberation and healing and not just that trauma aspect. Talking about encouraging more collaboration amongst the grantees, so those partnerships that develop. And for that, really sort of determining what is the county's role in being able to encourage those collaborations, and what's the county's role in supporting them as people develop their collaborations between one another. So that would be a really interesting space, I think, as we move forward. And we heard a need to create internships for youth so that they might be able to help message what programming is available through BSK. I loved that idea. I want to see that one as we come through the plan. There was some feedback that we heard from this group that was really about our internal processes as well. And so being able to improve our system for grantees by streamlining the process for invoicing and all the administrative aspects of the work. I think this is, it partners with the data collection. If we can streamline it, then how do we make sure that that relationship, the interface between the partners and us as the county works better? And getting into the details around invoicing, administration, all of those things. We want to ensure that our contracts have budgets to grow and hire on full-time employees, hello son, and to balance between capacity and need, so that people can expand the budgets as they need to increase capacity to serve, that they'll be able to hire the staff that they need to hire to be able to do that. And finally, that we put a stronger emphasis on qualitative outcomes rather than just quantitative measures, so that we can better highlight the work. And I heard in this, not that we would drop quantitative measures, but we would add those qualitative and put more of an emphasis on that aspect of the work that we're doing. So that was pretty quick through the feedback that we heard, but really sort of looking at that, clustering that, there's some really good feedback for how the county needs to shift the way that we're doing our processes, the role that we have with our grantees, and then some ideas about how to sink more into different types of ways of doing programming, ways of doing collaboration, ways of reporting on the work that go beyond just numbers. So I want to have you all thinking about that, what we heard on the general community conversations, and then what we took back in our reflections from our meeting with you. We're going to break up into small groups and really sort of deep dive into that. What else should we be considering? Are there things that have come up since then? Something that we didn't quite get right, or you want to further develop for us to be thinking about? And then is there anything that we missed? Either in the conversation from what you said before or in the intervening time that you want to make sure that we're really building into this plan. So we'll make sure that you have access to sort of the dot point list of things that we heard from you, but really want to take that time to get into small groups and be able to talk about that feedback. After we come back and talk a little bit as a larger group then about feedback, we'll talk about what the frame looks like for the levy proposal moving forward. So I keep identifying you, Megan, as the one that is splitting people into groups. Is that true, or is that Sarah? It's not. Okay.
I think it's Charlene.
Yeah.
Charlene. Okay.
Yes. How long would you like the breakout rooms to last?
Let's have breakout rooms for about 15 minutes. People can really deep dive into that.
Alrighty. Just a few moments here and we should open up.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Nice to see you, Afam. I heard from Yolanda that you're back in the village.
Sarah! Hi.
Hello.
Hold on, let me take this off.
And I think I see Reverend James
Michelle.
there. Hi, Olivia. Do you all know each other, or would you like to do introductions?
All right, I'm going to mute myself because things are really loud here. Sorry.
Yeah,
but
no
I
worries.
know Olivia and Reverend James. It's really great to see both of you. And thanks for letting me hang out and observe, and really grateful to be able to see how this community conversation works.
Hi, Amy. How you doing?
Hi, Reverend James.
Hey,
Um,
how you doing, Sarah?
I'm good. It's so nice to be back with you all. Yeah,
Great.
hanging in there. Do you all know each other, or do you want to do introductions?
Well, Amy, I wanted you to know that I'm Latasha. I'm on my Miss Olivia's computer. And
See, I
Sorry.
thought that was you,
let y'all know
Latasha, but
ahead
then
of
I was
time.
like,
I know.
So
I was
I'm
really
at,
confused. I was like, I don't want to make assumptions, but that looks like Latasha to me.
and I'm outside because of there's stuff going on in my house, and in the sun, my computer screen is like I can barely see. So I apologize.
I'm letting y'all know
Tasha.
ahead of time. My phone, it keeps coming in and out. I might be getting thrown out a lot because the internet is unstable right now. It seems like the later in the afternoon it gets really unstable. They
Okay.
keep popping me in and out. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Diana. Hey, pronounce your name. Afram.
I'm sorry, I missed that question. I was responding to a text.
Oh, that's okay. I was just trying to pronounce your name right.
My name is pronounced Afam.
Afam.
Oh,
Yes,
Nice
ma'am.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And I actually don't know anybody on this call other than Sarah.
Okay,
So
great.
I would
Yeah,
love.
let's just do quick introductions. Yeah. I think I know most of you, maybe not Diana. I'm Sarah Wilhelm. I introduced myself earlier in the large group, but know most of the folks on here through my work with Yolanda in the village. So great to see you, and I'll pass to Amy.
Hey everybody, Amy Schumann. I manage the Lead and Toxics program and environmental health. It's great to see you all.
hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Jimmy James, and I'm the Trauma-Informed Restorative Practices Coordinator for Restore, Assemble, Produce.
Hello, and I'm Latasha Jackson Rodriguez, Executive Director for Restore, Assemble, Produce.
Hi, I'm Michelle Piper. I hate to be rude. I know my camera's off. I'm kind of like in a lot of pain right now, so I don't, it's a lot. But I'm Michelle Piper with the Joseph Project, a program manager. Nice to meet everyone. Nice to see some of you.
Thanks for being here, Michelle, and no worries at all. Everyone should do what they need to do.
Cool. I actually am also experiencing a tremendous amount of pain and just got back from the doctor about half an hour ago, so I might have to turn on my camera. My name is Afam Mayika. I'm part of the Restorative Justice team for WABLOC, Washington Building Leaders of Change. Work out of Raider Beach High School, coordinating the restorative practices there. Nice to meet everybody officially.
Diana Kasubi. I'm coordinator of equity in Federal Way Public Schools. We're in cohort 1, and our school district has relationships with 4 CBOs in our community that are doing the BSK TERP work the past 3 years.
All right, great. So let's just get started. Anybody want to chime in with your reflections on what Sheila presented so far? And we'll be taking notes. I'll be on mute taking notes.
Well, I think from what she shared, their findings, one of the things that really, two things stood out. Primarily that we find that we have found it Restore, Assemble, Produce that is probably true to the point, and that is the importance of our family engagement piece. And I think a lot of organizations are finding that is very important. And for us, it's more about making sure sustaining that and growing that portion to another level to where it makes a major impact and change. So we're finding our relationship with our parents, especially during the COVID. If there's any sunshine that comes out of the rain of the COVID, I mean, how do you say it? You can't have it if you didn't have any rain. The grass wouldn't grow, and the growing grass for us is that more and more parents have came closer to our organization, to participate in our organization. So it's strengthening our parent engagement component of our programming. And the positive piece is that parents are gaining some confidence and trust, and we want to take that to new levels. And so we're working on those pieces. So that was a true finding and statement that she reported on that we feel is true to us at Restore, Assemble, Produce.
Thank you, and welcome, Charlene. It looks like Charlene put in the chat. Charlene, do you want to talk about what you put in the chat?
Yes, sorry, this is very delayed. So this
All
is
good.
Yeah, Sheila. This is directly from Sheila, and this is feedback from I believe previous community conversations. So these are all they're supposed to be bullet points, but they didn't paste.
Okay, it's a little hard to hear you, Charlene, but I think what you said is that these are the notes, the recommendations that we took from the village the first time we had a community conversation, which if I recall correctly was sometime last summer.
Yes.
And so we're reflecting these back, and I thank you, Reverend James. I did note your comments around family engagement and importance of engaging with parents, but wanting to hear from you if these what we discussed last time still feels like it's on track, what else you would like to add, anything else there. Thanks, Charlene, for that.
I would add, as far as the professional development, that we're seeing the school that we're connected to, he's allowing us more space to do more training with the staff. We actually came out of one on yesterday with 32 teachers and also the counselors, and all of them was on there, and we were able to do some training on equity, and he allowed us an hour of his professional time, the principal, and so he's like super open for that. There was conversation of even furthering it where they come here in our space with the teachers to kind of see what the CBOs is actually doing in the community and how we all can connect by coming outside of their space and coming to our spaces to understand more of the work that we're doing. And so I would say that is being more intentional right now. They're, after these 3 years, they're being more open, I would say, and giving us more space to do that, the professional part, development part. Oh, one more thing too I can say is enhancing, if I may say, is a lot of the teachers are getting to know their CBOs in the school, and they're reaching out more. They're now, after this time and learning and gaining relationship and trust with one another, they're literally sending emails now to the CBOs and ourselves on children that has given up in school. So they're reaching out to the community more than before.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone else have any reflections on what was shared last time around, or any other additions?
Yeah, I just like to add that I think it's great to push towards quantitative measurements. Because like I got this kid who's a freshman and he works at the Safeway in Beach. And like he always dashed me up when I walk through Safeway, you know. And he graduated a year ago. He's having a baby, got a baby on the way, you know. And he's a good little dude, you know. And I don't know how to quite capture like my impact on just having an adult that care about you around, you know, or like a big brother or somebody that doesn't want anything from you other than to see you just succeed, you know. So that's always been a struggle for me. My specialty is not like honestly, like, you know, polls and things like that, and surveys and stuff like that. I know there's room for that, you know, but it'd be great to get to capture a little bit more of the story, you know, because that's what for me, that's what the work's about. This, you know, that impact. So, and I also think it's cool to get to know y'all. A lot of y'all, I feel I can grow. I can personally learn from. I can personally grow from. You know, so I see a pool of wisdom. You know, and I've learned in my time to know when to be quiet and listen. You know, so you know, I look forward to getting to do that a little bit more because I feel like I know I know Mr. Richardson and I know Mr. Baker, you know, and a lot of other folks in the community have just been there for, you know, been around them for so many years. But I really look forward to letting to know them and as well, and the folks on this call as well. And hopefully I can learn a little something, grow a little bit stronger. So that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Afam. Diana or Michelle, do you have anything to add?
I think those are pretty much still on point, the feedback from last time. And I feel like that was what we were saying. So I think it was captured really well.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everyone else. Thank you.
All right, anything else on anyone's mind? We just have it looks like we have less than 30 seconds left actually. So we'll all go back to the large group and then we're going to hear about what we're thinking for the implementation plan for the next levy and then come back into breakouts and have a chance to share any reactions to that. I don't know if it's the same. I think it'll be the same breakout. I think that's how it works. So thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think that is all of the groups back. Welcome back to the larger group. I would love to hear what you were talking about in your smaller groups. So we're going to take a few minutes to talk as a full collective here about what came up in your groups, answering those two questions. What I'd like to ask is for the staff note takers to kind of report out, and then we'll see did that cover it for your group, and did you want to add to it? So King County staff, who would like to go first? Yep, go ahead, Steph.
All right, let me just get my notes up. Okay, so we basically heard a lot of claps for all of the feedback that was captured in the PowerPoint. Folks really love the flexibility of funding during COVID. It really helped folks be able to be creative on how family needs were being met. And they especially appreciated the reallocating of funds that was available before COVID. They also agreed that improving the streamlining for reporting, data collection to make the process easier. One new idea that we heard was if you're being funded by 2 different strategies, to be able to streamline that, that would be really helpful for them. So that was a new one. And we also really heard that capacity building was super essential because BSK is known for bringing a lot of grassroots organizations in and making sure that there's a place in the RFP or the budget to make sure that the infrastructure and sustainability of the organization is able to go beyond the years that BSK will fund it. So making sure that they have some resources to do fundraising and grant writing and all of those lovely sustainability things. And then as far as, let's see, anything else that's missing? Oh yes, one other great idea was offering stipends to work with graduate students to help with technical assistance because technology is always changing. So bringing on students and working with local organizations as well, like the People's Institute and things like that. So we don't have to go outside of our community to be able to get this assistance. So either students or other organizations would be really, really helpful. And that's it. But if anybody else from my group wants to share anything that I missed, that would be great.
Thank you. That was fabulous. I like these, the new suggestions as well. I'm furiously taking notes. This is really great. Okay, let's hear from another group. Sarah? Whoops, sorry. I saw Mohit at the same time.
Yeah, so our group also overall agreed that the feedback from the last session was well captured. Wanted to emphasize the family engagement and relationship with parents as being always very important, but especially during COVID, and something that folks are working on strengthening, and so support for that, much appreciated. Also noting that the school, one of our partners noted the school is allowing more space for them to do trainings directly with staff, more open now than they were maybe in the beginning, and maybe during the pandemic as well. And just the relationships that are built over time. And so teachers getting to know CBO partners, reaching out more directly, and the importance of sustaining those relationships. And then also just emphasize the push towards qualitative measures, and just how it's hard to capture numerically how much it means to have a trusted adult for young people in their lives, and to really capture that story. And that's really what the work is all about. And so wanting to encourage us to continue emphasizing those stories and the qualitative over quantitative measures. And then appreciating also the village and the strength of the community and the collective nature of this strategy, of the liberation and healing strategy, and how much everyone is able to learn and grow from the pool of wisdom in the village. I think that's it. Please chime in if I missed anything.
All right, great, thank you. How about another group?
Cool. We were in the middle of, I think, wrapping up when we got pulled back. So please feel free to chime in if I miss anything here. But in general, there was folks were very grateful for the fact that the county is intentionally trying to get it right, taking a bottom-up approach rather than top-down approach, trying to center racial equity in all of the work. I think that was sort of a fundamental value that people appreciated. And there was some optimism that it's a sustainable model and that the fact that flexibility around implementation is appreciated, that's kind of the key. That said, there were some main takeaways, thinking that the money dedicated for capacity building is not necessarily enough, especially when we talk about smaller CBOs. There's a recognition that Black and Brown folks who are leading these CBOs are better equipped to serve diverse populations. That's recognized, but they don't necessarily have the same funding, the same resources that white-led organizations may have. So more intentionality around that with BSK 2.0 is something that we should be looking for moving forward. It's very difficult to receive TA, technical assistance hours. One person said you can only operate with what they give you, which creates a lot of difficulties for grassroots organizations. And then finally, I think something that was in the implementation plan, in the slides rather, but the extension and reapplication process should be reimagined to make sure that all students are supported. Anything else that I might have missed?
Beautiful.
Yes, this is Kevin Baker. I'd just like to add, thank you so much. I think you did a great job of summarizing what was captured. I'd like to add in there that you know, part of the conversation around capacity building was also the point that on a monthly basis, when the organization receives funds, they have to spend down all of the funds, which doesn't give an organization an opportunity to create reserves. And oftentimes reserves are necessary for, you know, last minute things or things that may come up during operations. So that can be a handicap, especially when you're talking about building capacity and an organization becoming self-sustaining.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have another group? Yeah, Sarah J.
Hi, I'm happy to share out from my notes. And before I do that, I just want to say, Donald, you sort of facilitated our group. Would you like to share out, or would somebody else from the group like to share out?
Did you use my name?
Yes.
In vain.
Yeah, would you like me to share out from my notes, or would you like to share out?
I would love for you to share out, and then I will try to capture if I think you've missed anything.
Thank you.
Along with Patricia Bird.
All right, so here's what I have. So we talked about an idea of creating a student success book to help guide and support students as they return to school buildings after COVID restriction. We talked about, in relation to liberation and healing, the need to support children in developing a positive self-identity, especially through connecting with Black and African culture. We talked about how the county measures system improvement, and if we say that system improvement is a big goal for Best Starts for Kids, how are we measuring that, and not just how individual students or young people are doing. How schools need to have culturally responsive and culturally sensitive curriculums to create positive environments for our young people, and the role of the county in having MOUs or agreements with all the school districts that are funded through Best Starts for Kids, of how they interact with organizations in the village, or how they enact culturally sensitive curriculums and other supports. And talked also about the impact of white teachers interacting with students of color and providing training to understand their own biases and the cultural implications of their interactions. And then finally, supporting the amazing educators that we do have in our communities to heal and uplift families. What would you add, Donald?
Well, I would share, first of all, let me say that you captured and summarized everything we said very well. Really pleased with what you've done. You listened very well. Secondly, I would say that we talked about the experts that are in our region that could very well influence how we approach the problems that are associated with liberating and healing, and that we should utilize these individuals in a very special way. And I'm not sure what special means, but we got some talented people in this region, and we should focus on using those folks. And secondly, I just want to emphasize that we were in agreement with everything that was listed. And we were taking those points to basically say that we need help from the county, or I was saying we need a little help from the county to make sure that everyone is really clear about our intentions within districts to heal and liberate, so there's no confusion whatsoever. And given the relationship and partnerships that we've established the first 3 years, we're in a good place to begin to talk about racism in a way that liberates and heals. So I just wanted to add that point.
Thank you. Thank you. That is a really important point to add. So I'm glad that you added that to this conversation. Thank you. All right.
Hey, so if I may piggyback a little bit about how we started out with a conversation just to connect the dots about informing Black and brown boys about the code of conduct. Every school has a discipline or a handbook that really allows parents and families to learn about what is acceptable and what is non-acceptable behavior. And I've found over the years I've been with BSK that many of these students don't know what that is. So when we talked about having some kind of information center or piece, or something that we can give students at the beginning of the school year, so they can be keenly aware about conduct, it may help them because now they're informed about what kind of practices are best practices and not so best. And then Patricia mentioned that maybe instead of using the word code of conduct, we should call it the student success workbook. That's a different distinction. I think we need to maybe use a prettier word, but certainly let's empower our students by teaching them about the law. There's universal laws. I know this for a fact. And many of us are not privy to knowing that in advance to avoid the traps. So we need to design something to equip our students when they enter the field of education to conform themselves to those laws, or at least understand that if they don't, here's the consequences. And moreover, I think when we talk about cultural sensitivity, I think we're missing the middleman between white teachers and Black and brown kids. I think that if we had Black and brown tutors that could be paid to help our kids who can't read or write or understand the symbols of either numbers or letters, if we can get them up to speed of that by having someone they can connect with to make them feel more empowered, I think cultural sensitivity would be more effective. I think that if Black and brown kids are treated with cultural sensitivity, if they still have this residual lint that they can't read or write, they're not going to fully participate at a level that will sustain that cultural sensitivity the way it's embraced. So I would like to see Black and brown teenagers who are accomplished either with a high school graduation or with college opportunities that come back, be paid to help our brown and Black kids who've missed the boat in second, third, and fourth grade who are behind, and it goes beneath the radar. I don't think they're going to embrace cultural sensitivity if they still have that situation where they can't perform at optimal proficiency. I would love to lead that. I would love to recruit those individuals who can come back and give our students a slight edge and being able to read, understand math, and not be afraid of it. Because at this juncture, most of our brown and Black kids are afraid of the numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't have to be.
Thank you. Thank you. Other comments, questions that came up, or other comments you want to add to the conversation? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go through some slides now on what the Best Starts for Kids proposal is. And one of the things that I want to make sure that I keep in mind, we've heard things today, some of which actually I'm going to make sure get into the implementation plan. And some of the new ideas that you have, or maybe the reaffirming of things that you've already said, or things that we're going to carry forward past the implementation part and into the deeper dive of strategy planning. So we'll have a whole nother community process if the levy passes to be able to say, okay, so what do these details look like? It's some of the information that you gave today, I'm going to be passing on to our monitoring team, passing on to our evaluation teams, passing on even some of this stuff to our finance teams, and get them to start doing that deeper thinking that we need to have done. So I wanted to say thank you for that, and we'll be able to pass that on for the deeper dive should the levy be passed. Kevin, do you have a question?
I do. I believe that you misspoke. I think you meant to say when the levy passes.
Thank you.
Not if, when.
I know. You know what? Let me just say this. My heart said when the levy passed. My mouth as a county employee needs to say if the levy passes. So that's my role as a county employee.
I got it. That's right.
Try to be neutral. You all, however, can put all the energy out there you want on the other side of that. And I will.
Duly noted.
Okay, well, let's talk about this levy proposal. And again, it's really centered around what is currently being planned for the implementation plan and what voters will really be voting on come August. So let's see if I stopped at the right place. All right, that's not going to get me there easily. Okay, the levy proposal. Some of these slides should be very familiar to you. I just wanted to show you, to read again, that the guiding framework for Best Starts for Kids is really about promotion of well-being. The change for how the county government has used its resources and its funding. We want to emphasize how do we promote well-being, not just the absence of problems, but the presence of well-being. So BSK is about promotion. It is about preventing some of those risk factors that get in the way for our young people. It's about intervening early. And it's about recognizing that while a lot of our resources and our funding is going towards directly impacting families and kids, that everyone is surrounded by policies and systems that impact us. And we know that we need to shift and change those policies and systems as well. So BSK invests in policy and system change too. So the new proposal, when we went out a year ago, we started this process of talking to our communities and having feedback. We heard folks saying over and over and over again, we need to keep doing the things that we're doing with BSK, that we put a lot of work into that frame. We're showing that this is the way that we need to go. Communities are owning these strategies as they came up with these strategies. So the biggest part of Best Starts for Kids right now is maintain what we're doing. Continue to invest early, that prenatal to 5 time, continue with that, sustain the game, making sure that we're making investments at the right times for 5 to 24-year-olds. We'll continue investment in our Communities of Opportunity program and in the family homelessness prevention. So what those programs look like at the P5 level, our prenatal to 5, is if you think about the babies and the families in the middle, we are investing foremost in healthy birth outcomes for all of our children. And as we are looking at what that needs to look like, it will continue to be an investment in our public health services, added for BSK 2.0, really supporting the infant mortality prevention work that was happening at such a community level. We're going to bring some of that work into Best Starts for Kids and incorporate that into our healthy birth outcomes work. We're looking at home-based services for new families once those babies come in and the families are new and trying to figure out what to do. And also looking at how do you wrap community and peer support around families at that time, making sure that young people are developing in ways that is typical development, and if there's issues, making sure that they get the help and support they need early on. Looking at continuing our investments in childcare consultation, and then on that furthest outer circle about the system and system support. How do we make sure that people know where to go when they need help, and also those good connections between. We'll continue those investments in our 5 to 24. That's really our youth development strategies, our school partnership strategies, all of the family and community connection strategies that we have. Transitions to adulthood, which is really those 16 to 24-year-olds. Like how do we launch them into the rest of their lives from a healthy, strong place? And then for that group of kids who are really getting tripped up by the system, investing in the Stopping School to Prison and working with those young people with mentoring and with community supports. Communities of Opportunity is mostly a place-based and culture-based projects Their key priority areas are quality, affordable housing, the right to be healthy, increased economic opportunities, and strong community connections. This is a project that actually existed before Best Starts for Kids, was a partnership between the county and Seattle Foundation, but was mostly Seattle Foundation dollars. Best Starts for Kids dollars now come, and they leverage that for the ongoing support of this program. Then we have our Youth and Family Homelessness Prevention Initiative, and this is really designed for families with children and for youth who are at imminent risk of homelessness, not folks who are homeless already, but are at imminent risk of it, to stop that from happening. Form that partnership that's providing support and case management support, and we pair that with flexible funding. So if someone is ever having to make the choice between, do I pay rent or do I buy baby diapers? We should never be in that position. We can provide the funds to be able to get out of the immediate risk and then figure out what do we need to do to keep you out of the risk for losing your home. So that was a very successful program. We heard from community that we needed to invest actually more deeply in our 5 to 24-year-olds in that sustain the gain part. So as we're increasing the size of the levy, some of those dollars are going to go towards building upon what we're doing right now. So we're going to be building upon our out of school programs and really taking a look at the 5 to 12-year-old. Tends to be a group of young people that we sort of skip over. We get to the healthy babies and we get them to kindergarten, and we kind of think kids are okay, and then we pick them up again when they're teenagers. BSK 2.0, we want to emphasize the 5 to 12-year-olds too as we're looking at our programming. Investing in school-based centers and deepening our investments in that transition to adulthood type of programs. We also are looking at creating a new investment, a pretty large investment in childcare. First time around with Best Starts, every single community conversation we had, people said they were concerned about childcare. And we were unable to really invest in childcare the first time around. Now with COVID, our childcare system has almost collapsed. We've lost lots and lots of providers, and this has been particularly hard hitting BIPOC communities who both need the childcare for their families, but also are the childcare workers. And so we're looking at investing in a subsidy program so that folks can get childcare, get back onto their feet and into work, but also establishing a childcare wage project. We know that childcare providers, the childcare workers, are some of the most underpaid workers for doing some of the most important work. They tend to be women, and they tend to be BIPOC women. And so we really want to say, what would happen if we supported the wages wage? We believe we could create sustainability both for the workers themselves to be able to have a living wage and support their families, and that leads to them being able to stay longer in the jobs, which leads to increased quality for our families and children that are receiving those childcare services. So I'm excited about that project. We will invest in that and fund it, and then be able to evaluate and say, okay, did we get this right? Did we make a difference by doing this project? As a way of assessing whether that becomes a permanent part of the way that the county operates. We transmitted those earlier things as our plan to the executive, and then the council considered it, and the council added these next things that I'm going to tell you about. So we want to make sure that these are now a part of the BSK proposal. So the executive did part, and now the council. When we sent the proposal over to council, we said we wanted to increase it from 14 cents per thousand value to 19 cents. So the levy would increase, given today's property values, to be $811 million levy. That's transmitted. By the time it got to council and we had another economic forecast, to my surprise, I will admit, our property values are going up. And so the amount that we could collect at that rate went up. And so the projected income for the levy is about $870 million. With that additional $50 million, the council has set that aside for capital investments. And they have directed us to develop a capital program for either repairs and expansions of buildings or new facilities in areas where there are no facilities for organizations. So they will support the construction or the remodeling of facilities that serve children and youth. These can be a number of organizations, from housing to recreation to places where youth programs happen. So that's an exciting new aspect of Best Starts that the council added to our proposal. And it's important for us that we really want folks to know Council also added a mandate that we begin to report expenditures by program area by zip code and the number of people served by zip code. We currently have been reporting according to council district. Zip code data gets us more specific. It will allow us to answer questions that people have been asking. If school district asks us how much funds are coming into our area, we might be able to track that better by zip code than we could by council district. So many different ways people divide up the county, and we have council districts, we have school districts, we have health districts, we have municipalities, and they overlap, but none of them sit nicely with each other. Zip code is the best way we can get to being able to divide up the data. The reason why I put this in here, because this is kind of an internal wonky thing, but the data that we get on zip codes comes from you all. And so your emphasis with us that we need to streamline how we're asking for data and how we get data is going to be even more important in 2.0. We're going to need to ask our community partners where possible to collect information on the zip code of the young people that they're serving. Now, that is a mandate from council, but we recognize that that cannot be across the board. We've got some confidentiality, we've got some ease issues, so we're going to work with that, but it will be a big ask of our community to begin reporting data by zip code. And finally, there's a current motion that I think might have been approved this week, not this week, then next week, brought forward by Councilmember Dunn, that's in recognition that the COVID crisis really brought on a mental health crisis for many of our young people and some increase in substance use, particularly in some of our rural areas. So this new motion is asking Best Starts for Kids to make it really evident what the things we're currently doing that support social, emotional, mental health, and substance use impacts. So to make that really clear in the plan, but also to consider new programs and that will address those needs. And Sarah actually, under the COVID response, was leading up a lot of work around mental wellness. We're bringing all of that work under Best Starts for Kids. It's peer focused, it will be young adult focused and family focused. And so that will be able to this direction. We're already moving in that direction, but this is something that the council has directed us to do and to outline in the plan how we're planning on doing that. So just to give you the overall view of what the new levy proposal is, over time, it's a 6-year, over 6 years, about $200 will be invested in those child care programs. Up to $50 million will be invested in capital projects. Capacity building will come in $12 million over the 6 years. And I did hear the need for deepening capital in capacity building, so that's in my mind. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Our homeless prevention will be about $30 million for the 6 years. And then of the remaining amount, once we take those out, we have a total for 6 years. Of that remaining amount, 50% goes to investing early. Sustaining the gain moves from 35 to 37% of the levy. 8% will be our communities of opportunity, and 5% will be data and evaluation. So this is what the dollars look like, what the big buckets look like for how the investments will be made. When you look at this part where of the remaining levy, because it's been an increase in the levy, it is for all of the strategies. We took the base of what people are, what those strategies are funded at now, and we had that be the starting for the next 6 years. So very few of the strategies are seeing a decrease. Some are seeing a little bit of a decrease if it took them a while to get started, but mostly it's keeping everything steady. So a 6-year property tax levy, we're proposing 19 cents per thousand value. So for the average cost of a home in King County is about $600,000. It would be about $114 per home owning taxpayer. And you can see how that is different throughout the county. So in some parts of our county, Renton, for example, the average home for 2021 is $445K. And so it'll be about $84 per year for that home. But we like to show this slide to show from Algona to Mercer Island. You can see the difference in the county in home values and what it would cost for different parts of the county. And I think that's the end of my slideshow. So that was a bunch of information about what the proposal looks like. A lot of it is really, you probably picked up on, stay the course, deepen in these important areas, add childcare. If the projections stay high as we think they will, then we add capital. And there's this additional reporting around zip codes. Any questions, comments, reactions to the proposal that's moving forward?
I have one question, and it has to do just with whether or not the kind of like public temperament for maintaining the levy has been tested. Has there been any focus groups with the public to determine what people's perception, like the voters' perception is about BSK and the likelihood of it being continued?
So I'm going to answer that somewhat nuanced because of my role as a county employee. I do understand that there are polls that were done from the campaign side, and then one can assume that we would not move forward without understanding that that would be an acceptable way to move forward. I can say from my own personal experience on this side, as I move to do all of my presentations everywhere that I go, everyone is concerned about everyone else. Would they vote for the levy? I found that very interesting. Folks are definitely concerned that it's an increase, but everybody feels like voting for it anyway. Who knows what happens when people get in the voting booth, but when we break it down, and particularly when I've gone into our areas who were sort of on the fence with BSK the first time around, they saw what BSK did for their communities. They're supportive of that moving forward, and they want to see that continue. So there's been a change in the feeling because we proved that we were going to do what we said we were going to do. So when we break it down and people see what it will really cost for them, it feels like less. It feels like worth the investment. It feels like they can vote for it. When people think about an increased tax, then they feel less good about voting for it. So I think it's really going to depend in the next couple of months on how we talk about what it is we're doing. We're increasing it. This is what it's going to cost you. You know, for less than $10 a month for the average payer, this is all that we're going to be able to do for BSK. So some of that is campaign side, some of that is the way that as we're talking about renewal, we make sure that the information gets out there to folks about what it really means, this increase.
And just one follow-up question with that. Will we meet with anyone from the campaign side? Because I know there's people that would like to help door knock or, you know, whatever help is needed. Do we have access to that side so that we can figure out how to help get that going?
Yes, and what I can say to you is you can have all the access to either side for BSK. I do know that there is a website for the campaign, which would mean the pro side. I would tell you if there was a campaign against and give you that information as well. At this point, there is not a campaign against the passage of the BSK. You can see that in the voter pamphlet, which will be out shortly as well. So there is a website for being able to get involved. And there's probably someone, if there is someone here that is tapped into that can organize you all, but that's not a role that the county employees can take. All right. It's hard to try and stay on the right side of the way to talk about all of this. Other questions or reflections or comments?
I think you guys have done a really good job of pulling together a framework for actually creating improvements in which people can begin to visualize why this work is really important. So I applaud you guys, for all of you guys who pulled it together. I applaud you with much appreciation for recognizing the work of the organizations and then building upon it so that we can really serve our families and children in ways that are sometimes difficult to even imagine, but the possibilities still sit before us. So thank you for your work and diligence to bring this along to a point where we see, as I said earlier, the excitement from this proposal.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, we were just talking this morning about how rich we are right now, and that we have to all keep that in mind. There has been such a depth of assault to our humanity and our well-being in the last year, and really historically. The rise in love and power and movement that I also see right now is our wealth. And we have financial resources coming in. So we are at a really opportune time for all of us to be able to come together and move forward. And I want to thank you all, because I actually believe that the village has set an example and set a pace for all of Best Starts for Kids as well. So it's coming both ways. In the way that you organize, the feedback that we get from you, and the way that that happens in the context of love for our young people is inspirational. So I want to thank you as well for your work. When you all went into small groups, one of our staff person was like, I love being with this group. So it just we feel it, and we appreciate it. And it does feel like community from all of our places in community, pushing forward in one direction. So I want to express my gratitude for that as well.
That's a very healthy concept and compliment. It really makes my day, my week, my month. Thank you so much for affirming some of the tough places we have to go to straighten things out and give kids a better opportunity. It means a lot.
Thank you. So I'm not one that says we have to stay until 4:30 if our meeting is over. I don't want to end early if there is more that folks want to say, but I also want to say if it's time for us to end, we can do that as well. So any final thoughts?
It's time to leave you.
Sing it, brother.
Yeah, sing it, sing us out. I hope that you get a chance to be a part of the sunshine. I can feel it coming in my window now. So we give you an extra 10 minutes to your day here.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.